on our breaking news story out of Lebanon this hour, where Israel has issued forced evacuation orders for the southern city of Tyre. Let's go over to Obaida Hito, who's in Tyre for us. Obaida, I believe this is the first forced evacuation order for the entire city of Tyre. Tell us about what's happening on the ground.
Absolutely, an unprecedented forced evacuation order, more like a threat if you read the text that was issued by the Israelis via social media. It says that Israel wants to protect them, the people that are being targeted or at least being warned to leave their homes, saying that they don't want them to be in the line of fire, but if they stay in the city, specifically in these areas that were marked around the city, that they would be in danger. Israel says that it's targeting Hezbollah infrastructure, but what we're seeing on the ground here is more and more attacks targeting civilian homes, civilian infrastructure, medics, medical care centers, hospitals. Unfortunately, this latest evacuation order has caused a huge sense of panic here in the city. We were just out on the main road and we saw people rushing to the supermarkets to try and grab whatever they could before they closed. Many of the stores were suddenly closing up. Even pharmacies are closing. And that's because these attacks that have been escalating over the past several days are coming closer and closer to heavily populated centers. The city of Tyre is the biggest population center in the south of Lebanon. Just yesterday, the Israelis issued a blanket evacuation order for the second biggest city of Nabatea. And now that Tyre has been issued this evacuation order, the country's displacement crisis is going to significantly increase. And I want to give you an idea of what this looks like. We are currently inside the red zone of the evacuation order issued by Israel, and it stretches all throughout these areas here where you see these buildings, Burj Rahal, Burj Shamali, and then Al Hosh, and then once you go towards the sea, towards the coastline there, you will see the Rashidiyah refugee camp. In just a moment, all of these areas that you're looking at right now have been issued forced evacuation orders. The edge of the forced evacuation order ends right there at the Rashidiyah refugee camp. Just a couple days ago, we saw the Israelis issue a forced evacuation order for a specific building inside that refugee camp, and then it was subsequently targeted. Today, now everything in the city of Tyre, all the way to the Rashidiyah camp, is included in this forced evacuation order, affecting tens of thousands of people, causing a sense of panic here in the city. Unfortunately, many of the people that I spoke to in the moments coming to you live, people were telling me that they don't know where to go. They don't have anywhere else to go. Some of the people I spoke to have been displaced from other parts of the country, coming to Tyre thinking it was going to be safe, but that's ended today.
I was going to ask you about that, in fact, Obaida. I mean, as you said, this is now a blanket evacuation order for the entire city of Tyre. 24 hours ago, it was Nabatea, and it feels like people have nowhere safe to flee to now.
Absolutely. We visited the site of an attack earlier today in the Burj Shamali neighborhood. That building that was struck actually had families that left Tyre, left Burj Shamali, and then returned thinking that things were going to be safe during the ceasefire. But at least 14 people were killed, and the rescue teams were still pulling bodies out of the site of that attack. And there are similar situations in multiple locations around the city of Tyre, and then into Lebanon's interior. The Israeli attacks continue to escalate, especially in the east of the country, around the Nabatea district, as well as into the western Beqa Valley. Israeli troops are trying to push forward across the Litani River. They've been focusing a lot of their firepower around the town of Zotar al-Sharqiyya. They tried to make an initial cross over the Litani River towards Zotar al-Sharqiyya, which is just south of the city of Nabatea. Yesterday, they were pushed back by Hezbollah forces. Today, they've tried again to push forward towards Zotar al-Sharqiyya, and that fight continues. But all of that being said, it's coming at a huge cost to all of these civilians caught in the crossfire. ceasefire. Tens of thousands of people affected by this latest evacuation order covering the entirety of the city of Tyre.
And also very important to note that these forced evacuation orders, Obaida, are coming as there is supposed to be a ceasefire in place in Lebanon, which Israel hasn't respected since it came into effect. And the political context is also quite significant here, given that we're expecting in a few days talks between the Lebanese government and Israelis to resume talks, which have happened already at the ambassador's level a few weeks ago. How does that play into the current situation and is escalating tension on the ground and the fears of a resumption of a full Israeli campaign in Lebanon?
Yeah, people here in Lebanon have been saying ever since the ceasefire went into place that they know that Israel doesn't respect ceasefires, whether it's in this war or in previous conflicts. So they didn't expect much, but they expected that this time around, the Lebanese government and the United States might actually pressure Israel to slow down and to not carry out attacks on civilians, on medical facilities, on paramedics. But we've seen the exact opposite. Even after the extension of the ceasefire, the number of attacks increased, the scope of Israel's military operations has significantly widened, and that has become official policy over the last couple of days as Israel has announced that it's going to expand its military operations on the ground here in Lebanon beyond the 10-kilometer deep yellow security zone that they've created in southern Lebanon, where they're occupying at least 55 towns and villages. All of that is contributing to Israel's attempt to increase its leverage in these talks that you're describing. There's going to be military technical meetings on the 29th, this Friday, at the Pentagon. Then, on the 2nd and 3rd of June, the diplomatic talks are supposed to continue. But all of these talks are happening while people are being displaced from their homes. Lebanon has experienced its biggest humanitarian crisis in recorded history. Over 1 million people displaced from their homes, overwhelming the government and its resources, which are extremely limited to respond to people's needs. And I think this is going to cast a heavy shadow over those talks when they happen in Washington, D.C., because the Lebanese government needs to sell this deal to its people. But while all of this is happening, I don't think they're going to be able to convince Lebanese people that the country is ready for peace with Israel.
Obaida Hito in Tyre. Thank you very much, Obaida, for bringing us the latest there from Lebanon. Again, in the last hour, Israel has issued a forced evacuation orders for the southern Lebanese city of Tyre, the entire city of Tyre. This is unprecedented. It's the first time that the entire city is targeted in this way. This comes 24 hours after Israel also issued forced evacuation orders for Nabatea in southern Lebanon as well. On the ground there, people, our correspondent describing a sense of panic among residents of Tyre who have now nowhere safe to go as these Israeli evacuation orders come in every day. We'll keep a close eye on the situation, of course, and bring you the latest as and when we have it.